Hey, Joe here from Home Studio Corner. I don't talk about this a lot, but one of the reasons why I use a mixer in my studio actually started way back years ago when I first started Home Studio Corner and I was doing a lot of tutorial videos. I needed to capture the screen, I needed to capture the audio from my computer, and I also needed to capture my own microphone. I tried a bajillion different variations, but I found that what I wanted to do was to be able to control the volumes and the blends outside of the computer so I didn't have to go back in and then mix the whole video, right? So if I had to shoot a 20-minute video, then go mix the audio, that would just add more time. I wanted to get videos done and out. So I pretty quickly started to try out different mixers. I tried out a tiny little, actually I still have it, little Alesis multi-mix USB 4-channel mixer. It's just this cheap, cute little mixer, and I would plug my output from my DAW into lines 3 and 4, that was a stereo channel, then my microphone would go in here. And then eventually I used a gate in between to make my microphone quiet when I wasn't talking, right? So that it'd be a nice quiet signal coming from my mic for when I was playing something back and people wanted to listen critically. I didn't want them to hear me breathing in the background of the video. This wasn't a great solution, A, being fairly inexpensive and kind of noisy. So it didn't take long before I landed on one of the small PreSonus Studio Live mixers, the 1602. That was the first mixer that I had. And then the bigger 24 channels, 2442, and then now currently the Series 3 24 channel. Now the reason I love it, obviously it's great for tracking, it's great. I've done a video on reasons why I like having a mixer in a home studio, but one of the big reasons is so I can do things like live podcasting where I've got my voice, I can EQ my voice, I can compress or limit or gate my voice, and that gets blended with the audio and records in for a podcast, so I don't have to go in and do a lot of that stuff later. Or if I'm doing a live stream where I want my voice to have kind of a broadcast quality without buying a bunch of broadcast gear, I can plug it into the Studio Live, I can EQ it like I want it, I can run it into a subgroup that has a limiter on there so it's nice and loud, and then I can blend all the other elements together. Now one thing I talked about in a video where I talked about reasons to own a mixer in a home studio, it's not for everybody, but if you are into having musicians come to your studio and perform, specifically do it for live streaming, a mixer becomes a godsend, because then you can plug them in, you can get all the EQs and compressors right, and then you can have a really good sounding mix that you're streaming up to YouTube or Facebook or whatever streaming service comes out next. So why am I telling you all this? Well, I'm shooting this on a Tuesday, and Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Central Time, I do a weekly streaming podcast on my YouTube channel. So it's a video podcast where I'm answering your questions, I'm streaming it all from my studio live here in my studio. I'm also answering questions, I'm also recording an audio version of the podcast, and it's all happening at the same time. Normally it's just me being goofy at the beginning and then talking for a minute, and then I answer a bunch of questions, and it's really fun. You should come Tuesdays 1 p.m. Central Time. Well, this week I've got special guests. You may remember back around Christmas time I produced an EP for a two-person group, a duo called Homestead Collective. Now, you may recognize Ben and Caitlin from the band Sunday Muse. If you did one of my Mixed Together series, season 2, we mixed a song called Fooled Gold. The singer, one of the vocalists in that band was Caitlin, and then Ben played a lot of the guitar parts. So they're on tour. We're actually playing a show together tomorrow night, a house show at Frankie Barranco's house, just worlds colliding all over the place. But today I wanted to have them on Ask Joe to answer questions about being an independent artist and the ways that they think about creating value and community around their music, and also just nitty-gritty stuff about touring and all that type of stuff. Now I assume they're gonna bring their instruments, so I wanna have at least 2 more microphones set up, one for my voice, one for her to speak into and play, one for him to speak into and play. And so maybe I can capture a cool performance if they decide to play a song live on the air. So that's what today's job is, this morning at least, to get things set up so that I can actually have them fit on camera, have everybody comfortable, and be able to capture a halfway decent sounding audio for the live stream. Now the reason I'm showing you this is this could be a great way to add value to what you're doing. If you're only thinking about working with artists and recording them and handing them a finished MP3, a finished CD, that's fine. But what really is going to set you apart is looking for ways to create value. And one of those ways, you don't have to do this, but one of them could be featuring artists that you work with from your studio doing a live stream concert. You already have the microphones, you already have the preamps and the gear to capture good sounding audio. Why not turn that into a regular event that you do where you're streaming it up to YouTube and you're capturing live audio, live video, and you're promoting the artist that you work with. If I had a choice between working with engineer A, who's gonna do a great job and it's gonna sound good and that's it, or engineer B, who's gonna do a great job and it's gonna sound good and he's gonna feature me on his weekly show where one of his clients comes and plays a few songs, definitely going with that guy. Even if he's more expensive, he's bringing more to the table than option A. So that's something I want to open your mind up to today. And also we just got to get this stuff set up. So come help me think through it. Okay, so this is my normal setup for Tuesday Ask Joe. I've got a webcam where you are, like a USB webcam that just has a long cable so I can put it over here. And then I'm sitting here, I'm talking into this microphone. This is the Roswell Mini K47. I've got it EQ'd a little bit, running into a bus that has a limiter, and that's it. I don't think you need to compress spoken word. And then I've got the laptop here. I'm recording everything on the computer, and then I can see the chat here, and I can answer questions and all of that. Now, the problem is, I'm nice and cozy here. I gotta fit 2 more people. I'm thinking we're gonna try the blue couch. Yeah, I think this will work nicely. Okay, it's not the prettiest setup in the world, and at the end of the day, it's just a webcam, so it's not gonna look great. One day I'll upgrade to where this camera can stream, but there's a lot involved, and I probably need like a cameraman and a producer to make that work. So call me if you're one of those. But the setup will work well. So what I've done is I've got my microphone as normal, the Mini K47, running into a channel on the board with a little bit of EQ, and it's all running to a limiter. And then I've got a pair of these CAD M179 mics. They have multiple polar patterns. They have a built-in high pass filter. Just a good, I think it's the only large diaphragm condenser I have 2 of, so I just wanted 2 of the same thing. Really cheap mics, great mics, sound really good on toms, surprisingly. But we're gonna put that on them, and the idea is just to have it kind of somewhere between their voice and their guitar, if they're playing a guitar, to kind of just pick up both. It's not gonna be the most pristine recording in the world, but it should sound pretty good. Much better than like using the laptop microphone, right? Or a single USB microphone halfway across the room. This will get us a decent sound. Those are both going into separate channels on my board, so I can EQ them separately as well, if and when I need to. So this should be good. They should be showing up here in about 30 minutes. We'll get sounds, we'll do sound check, we'll make sure everything's working, and then we'll do the stream, and I will report back.
Quietly grows without the need to prove it's the wood between the words. Am I wrong?
Okay, so it's the next day. It went well. They ended up just wanting to kind of sit and just do an interview style versus playing songs, but we talked them into playing later. So we did an intro together. If you're not familiar, Ask Joe, I do a musical intro every week. I come up with some new silly intro. We did one of those, which is pretty funny. And then we had just a great conversation. There were lots of good questions from the chat, so go check out that video if you haven't already. And at the end, once the podcast was over, everybody was like, play us a song, play us a song. So they played a couple of songs down, which I recorded, and you'll hear at the end of this video. But it was just a good, fun time. Was the camera work perfect? No, it's just a webcam. Was the audio perfect? No, we just used one mic to capture Caitlin's voice and guitar. That's not ideal. It's fine. I want to encourage you to spend less time trying to get everything just right and put yourself out there and do stuff. When I knew they were coming to town, we were going to do this show, I knew that I wanted to have them on Ask Joe. And I knew I wanted them to play music, and I didn't exactly know how it was going to work. And even as we're streaming live, I'm thinking, I'm not sure how this is gonna work. And we just made it work. I think we live in a world of shooting for too much perfectionism and not taking enough chances. Even if it had bombed yesterday, and it wasn't the best show in the world, like the audio wasn't perfect, even if it had bombed, who cares? Who cares? To try it and bomb is better than to hold back and to not do anything in hopes that you'll make it perfect later. Yeah, it just doesn't even make sense. Anyway, I don't know who this video is gonna resonate with. For a lot of you, maybe the live streaming thing is not even a part of the equation for you, and that's totally fine. If you're interested though, I just wanna challenge you to try it out. Whether you are the artist or you bring other people in, it's gonna be clunky, it's gonna be awkward, but there will also be some cool special moments, and I think you should dive in and really give it an effort. and just see what happens. This could be a whole new era for you in your studio of ways to add value, like I said before. So consider it, and if you have questions, leave them below. Happy to answer. One last thing, if you love mixing like I do, whether you mix on a mixer, with a mouse, or one of those stupid little trackball things, you need to check out my 5-step mix guide. It's 100% free, and it will make your mixes better. Go get it now, 5stepmix.com.
I've considered life without a say, but I keep coming back to you. I keep coming back to tables, to handholds, to simple, to love. Can pieces be windows again? We're more than the shit we're in.
All right.
Cool. I don't know how this.
Yeah, I don't know how loud that's gonna be.
It's okay though. Ready?
Yeah.
Where did you come from? I've always been here. Seems like I've known you for a while. Maybe so, but don't go thinking that you know me. I'm not saying that I do. But time has a way of showing layers. Now you're scary close. In the interior I'm exposed. Just let me play my part, get my cue, strike the set, come and go, steal the show. Not in the script, but write it. Love is worth the risk. So true intimacy means getting to know me. Takes a long season cultivating. You say it's an acquired taste and the harvest is worth the wait. Most things good for us are not easy. And now you're scary close. In the interior I'm exposed. Just let me play my part, get my cue, strike the set, come and go, steal the show. Not in the script, but write it. Love is worth the risk. Where did you come from? I've always been here. Seems like I've known you for a while. And now we're scary close. In the interior and exposed. And I will give my heart, stay honest, plant the seed, sow and reap, fight the apathy. Not of the world, but we're in it, and love is worth the risk. It's all worth the risk.
Whoops.
Great.
Yay!